Parasocial intimacy, the psychology of feeling close to strangers. Parasocial, named Cambridge Dictionary's Word of the Year 2025, refers to a one-sided psychological connection in which a person feels emotionally close to a public figure, fictional character, or artificial intelligence they do not personally know. In the digital age of constant exposure, this mediated familiarity increasingly shapes how the brain interprets connection, trust, and intimacy. The familiar stranger. The human mind is a narrative machine. Jerome Bruner. I want to begin with a quiet confession. There are voices I recognize instantly, cadences that feel familiar, faces that seem to know me. And yet, they do not. They speak into cameras, microphones, live streams, timelines. I have never met them. Still, my nervous system responds as if I have. This is the paradox of the digital age. Intimacy without encounter. In the glow of screens, strangers feel close. Not metaphorically, neurologically. The brain, shaped by millennia of face-to-face survival, now navigates an environment saturated with mediated presence. Algorithms do not merely deliver content, they curate emotional exposure. And the mind, faithful to its ancient wiring, responds as it always has, by forming bonds. Parasocial intimacy is not a flaw. It is a feature of human cognition encountering a new environment. The first illusion of presence. We do not see things as they are. We see them as we are. Anais Nin. The term parasocial interaction emerged in the 1950s. Long before social media, coined by Horton and Wohl to describe one-sided emotional relationships between audiences and media figures. At the time, it referred to radio hosts and television personalities. Faces that appeared regularly, spoke directly, and returned predictably. What has changed is not the phenomenon, but its intensity. The brain does not ask whether a presence is mediated or physical. It asks only one question: is this pattern familiar? When someone looks into a camera and speaks in a confessional tone, the sensory cues resemble direct interaction. Eye contact, vocal warmth, emotional disclosure. The mind fills in the rest. Presence is no longer defined by proximity, but by repetition. Mirror neurons and emotional simulation. The brain is a prediction machine. Karl Friston. Deep within the motor cortex and limbic systems, mirror neurons activate when we observe another's actions or emotions. Originally studied in primates, these neural circuits fire not only when we act, but when we watch someone else act. The brain simulates the experience internally. When a creator laughs, pauses, hesitates, or reveals vulnerability, the observer's neural networks rehearse the same emotional states. This is empathy at the level of circuitry. The body responds before reason intervenes. In parasocial intimacy, Emotional simulation occurs without reciprocal feedback. The viewer feels with someone who cannot feel back. Yet the nervous system registers the interaction as real. Emotional resonance precedes rational correction. This is not delusion. It is neural efficiency meeting digital abundance. Repetition, vulnerability, and the architecture of trust. Familiarity breeds comfort. William James. Trust is not built through truth alone. It is built through consistency. Repeated exposure lowers cognitive vigilance. The amygdala relaxes. The prefrontal cortex categorizes the stimulus as safe. When repetition is paired with vulnerability, confessions, struggles, authenticity cues, the effect deepens. The brain associates emotional disclosure with social bonding. Vlogs, podcasts, and live streams intensify this process by mimicking unscripted reality. Long-form audio creates a sense of shared mental space. Live streams introduce temporal simultaneity, the illusion of now together. These formats bypass analytical filters and engage the social brain directly. The result is false familiarity. Not false because it is imagined, but because it is incomplete. Recognition without reciprocity. To be seen without being known is the loneliest form of visibility. Carl Rogers. Here lies the critical distinction. Recognition is not reciprocity. Parasocial intimacy allows one party to know intimate details of another's life, values, and emotions. The other party knows only aggregated data, views, metrics, engagement rates. The relationship flows in one direction, but the brain evolved for symmetry. This asymmetry creates a quiet tension. The viewer feels connected, the system does not respond. The mind waits for signals that never arrive. Dopamine anticipates reciprocity. Cortisol rises when it does not come. What feels like closeness can subtly amplify loneliness. Not because connection is absent, but because it is structurally incomplete. The algorithm is social architect. Technology is not neutral. It reflects the values of its creators. Langdon winner. Algorithms optimize for engagement, not well-being. And parasocial intimacy is profoundly engaging. Platforms learn which faces, voices, and emotional arcs hold attention. They reinforce exposure. They narrow the field of social input. Over time, the digital environment becomes emotionally curated. Less diverse, more familiar, more intimate. The algorithm does not create attachment, it accelerates it. By rewarding vulnerability, consistency, and emotional accessibility, it shapes behavior on both sides of the screen. Creators perform closeness. Audiences internalize it. The result is a feedback loop where intimacy becomes content, and content becomes identity. The historical echo. Every age has its dominant illusion. Friedrich Nietzsche. Parasocial intimacy is not new. Humans have always bonded with symbols. Gods, myths, heroes, voices in the dark. What is new is scale, frequency, and personalization. In earlier eras, symbolic figures were distant and collective. Today, they are personal, conversational, and omnipresent. The digital figure speaks to me, knows my preferences, appears when I am alone. The sacred has become familiar. The familiar has become intimate. And intimacy, once rare and mutual, is now ambient. Identity in the age of mediated belonging. Man is not what he thinks he is, but what he hides. Karl Jung. Parasocial bonds often form where identity feels fragmented. In moments of uncertainty, career ambiguity, social displacement, existential fatigue, the mind seeks coherence. Familiar digital figures provide narrative continuity, a sense of belonging without risk. But identity cannot be outsourced without cost. When emotional regulation, moral orientation, or self-reflection becomes externally anchored, autonomy subtly erodes. The self becomes referential, defined in relation to voices that cannot answer. This is not pathology, it is adaptation. But adaptation always has trade-offs. The silent transaction. Attention is the currency of consciousness. William James. Every parasocial bond carries an unspoken exchange. Attention for comfort. Data for belonging. Time for emotional resonance. The cost is rarely visible. It accumulates as mental fatigue, blurred boundaries, diminished social reciprocity. The mind, saturated with simulated closeness, may withdraw from the friction of real relationships, where reciprocity is uncertain and vulnerability is not curated. The transaction is not unethical. It is unconscious. Awareness without prescription. The unexamined life is not worth living. Socrates. This is not a call to disengage, nor a warning against connection. Parasocial intimacy reflects something deeply human, the need to feel seen, understood, accompanied. The task is not rejection, but recognition. To notice when familiarity substitutes for relationship. When recognition replaces reciprocity. When emotional simulation masks emotional absence. Awareness does not sever bonds, it contextualizes them. Understanding restores agency. The mirror and the mind. We are a way for the universe to know itself. Carl Sagan. In the end, parasocial intimacy is a mirror, not of others, but of ourselves. Of how readily the mind connects, how easily presence is inferred, how deeply we long for resonance in an increasingly abstract world. The digital age did not invent this longing, it revealed it. And in decoding it, we do not lose intimacy, we reclaim consciousness. This is Decode Code, where we uncover the hidden patterns, unseen costs, and scientific forces shaping the mind in the digital age. Thanks for your time. It's been a delight. What should we explore next? Comment, share, and save your insight. Subscribe to Orbital Reads and keep your thoughts bright.